Hi everyone, it's Sean from STK this morning. I'm sorry it's been a while since I spoke to you. I've been very busy working on things domestically and internationally for Agros and other endeavours that we're doing at the moment. But we've got Mike Hudson here today. Southern Cross has just been one of those champion stocks that have gone virtually to the moon, and it's pulled back recently, which variety of reasons, tax loss selling of shares, which we'll go into over this call. But the gold grades, I mean, two hits recently, Michael alluded to in the top 10 of the project. It's getting better at depth. It just keeps getting better and better. And it's exciting to discuss it. But Mike, thanks for joining me this morning. It's good to see you.
Sean, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What I'd like to talk about this morning is Southern Cross, firstly. It's just a remarkable story. I mean, the three catchphrases, which I'll let you give me because I get them confused. Can you just building, showing grade, showing continuality, and proving
Volume, grade, and scale.
Yeah, and I think you're doing that in spades. That last announcement, I don't think the market quite got onto it. I know when I look at Fosterville and Costerfield, which are next door, and mind you, owned by Canadians. We'll touch on that later. But the reality is these ones are really great at depth. And this last hole that's where their swan zones were deep. And what happened with this last hole, Mike? We went deeper, we went out of the host zone, and what did you find?
Well, it was the best drill hole intersection in Australia last week. So we found something pretty special. And it was one of the top 10 hits, but there was two top 10 hits in that hole. The other one got hidden. We got something like 3.1 meters at 125 grams, 80 meters below everything else we've ever found before. So the system continues. It continues to get better at depth. These systems change. Fosterville, which is something we've talked a little bit about over time, and Costerfield, the surrounding mines, the same style geologically. These systems get better at depth as you go into a hotter and higher temperature, higher pressure part of the system. Bit of geology, but it's really important geology because it created $10 billion of market cap appreciation for the companies that own Fosterville from about 2017 to 22. So it is a key part of these systems. We have mineralization starting from surface. And it's gone down to about 1.1 kilometers now, and it does get better at depth. And oh my God, this system gets keeping on building and getting better. The average cumulative grade has just continued to increase as we've, one, gone deeper, but two, understood the system better. And you don't find discoveries like this. The hit rate globally is, if you look at the plus 100 gram meter hit rate divided by the amount of drilling, the frequency that we're hitting those hits is better than pretty much every other discovery on Earth, that better than anything else I can see at the moment. And so, every week we put out a result. We're in the top 5 of Australia, and if not the top 1, like we were last week. So there's a lot of gold here. It's heading towards creating, heading, not there yet, but heading towards creating one of the highest margin gold projects in the world.
One of the key things that I've been watching is that I hear Jimmy Jabber, I hear people talk, and I just want to give something to the naysayers out there about this deposit. You're not drilling in the one spot next to the last hole, the last hole. You're expanding this system. I think one of the key things in this last drill hole shows people is that we've gone deeper, and it's not, the gold body goes down, and you've got to make sure where it is. You can't drill 100 meters apart and think it's going to be there. If we're going to get a feasibility study, if we're going to get a JORC or an MRE confirmed, we've got to drill out the system and show where it is. And from what we're drilling out at the moment, it's looking magnificent. We're long-term holders. We've got a lot of stock. Yes, we move things around. But at the end of the day, where the share price is at the moment, and you've mentioned 10 billion in market value for Fosterville and Costerfield, we're not even at $500 million at the moment. We're still significantly below that, and it's forming up significantly beautifully.
Yeah, I can't. I need to answer the naysayers in many respects because we've got to address those questions that people bring up, and some of them are valid and some of them are not, and we can address everything. But I suppose it's almost too good to be true, I think, is the way that people approach this. These grades and their consistency. Well, it's in Victoria, it's nuggety, it doesn't hang together, is the one that I hear a lot. But these have a very low coefficient of variation. They're consistent, reconcilable bodies as far as we can see today. That's what Fosterville and Costerfield are. And this one's shaping up to be similar. The geostats support that. 50 years of mining historically supported that. The sampling and the way that we can reconcile samples. So at every scale, this is hanging together, and we can demonstrate that to the very smartest people that we bring in to truth check us, whether they're the resource geos or some very smart consultants that come, because you don't want to believe your own BS in this business. So we're very aware of that, but at every point this appears to be holding together. So it's not like the traditional Victorian deposits that everyone in Australia has blinkered themselves to. So I suppose that's one. And then Victoria being a hard jurisdiction, but we've got 5 gold mines here producing more gold than we have for a long time. This is a desired project from the local level right through to the Indigenous partners that we're working with, right through the municipality, and then that gets support at the state level from that point of view. Having the antimony as a 20% byproduct, potential byproduct, is critical from the federal point of view and the global point of view, because antimony is 90% controlled by Russia, China, and Tajikistan, and we need we need antimony in the Western world. I've been traveling around the world discussing those needs with some very serious potential partners. Let me say that. So at every level, this is a very real project. Keep your eyes on it, Sean. It's only a couple of years in, and we're very, very excited. You don't find these projects very often.
Like, I think the key thing is you found it with the first part of the money. With the first 6 million you invested from Mawson, you found high grade gold. You did the pre-IPO, found more high grade gold. With the IPO, you found more high grade gold. You don't have billions of shares on issue. The capital structure of the company is phenomenally tight. It's very good. And this brings me to the next point. You've got a lot of North American investors that have come in and supported you. You're the Mr. Man in a suitcase. You're the champion of Southern Cross. You're traveling around the world showing everybody what this company has, and the share price has reflected you and your team's hard work. Now, one of the problems I've noted, because we're doing a lot of work in North America, we're doing work in Europe with different projects that we're working in. And one of the key things we've found hard is that a lot of fund managers cannot invest outside of their jurisdiction. And North America is one of those. Now, this wouldn't be your main reason for moving Southern Cross to Canada, but one of the reasons that I can look at as a broker, as an investor, is that the North American market is one of the biggest in the world. And Southern Cross being listed on the Australian Stock Exchange to get direct exposure to Southern Cross, a lot of these funds can't get exposure. So your strategy of dual listing and having a listing in North America and Australia, I'm very pleased to let you know that there's a lot of North American funds that you would have spoken to that have had their hands tied and they can't invest because the head co is based in Australia. Now that you'll be listed on the North American Canadian Stock Exchange, you're going to in the future, pending voting, I'm assuming, which we're all going to vote yes, you're going to have this ability to get a whole new track of investors coming into the company, which should bode very well for share price. So I think where we're currently sitting at the moment with the share price around the 230 mark, when it's been as high as 348, obviously there's been some tax loss selling for people who bought it higher, and it's sort of consolidating at the moment. But I think with the continuing results that you've been putting out, and with the funds that have now got access to buy your shares when you move over to Canada, I think you're right for a good bounce, because I love saying the word history repeats itself. And with the results that you've had time and time and time again, as you've just said, it's getting better at depth. You've just gone deeper. You've got more gold. This is a recipe for success. And I think your strategic move with what you're doing from a corporate view is as good as what you're doing with the drilling, because I think the investors that get your stock, and as I said, Fosterville and Costerfield, they're listed on the Canadian exchange. So North Americans made all the money. Yes, we're still going to be in Australia, but that's the market that understands the Victorian goldfields very well. It's not like Bendigo. It's not like Ballarat. It's a different type of geological system. which these investors get. So I'm really looking forward to the dual listing. I'm hoping, and I don't know for certain, but I'm hoping because you've done all that marketing, you're at PDAC, you're traveling to North America all the time to spread the story, to tell the love. This could be a very good opportunity now before we go over there, where potentially a lot more buying comes in, to get set at these levels. I mean, what do you think about that?
It's a simplification and consolidation and dual listing that has driven all the philosophy behind the merger. So Mawson spun out these projects, a Canadian company, and we listed the company in May 2022, which you were a key part of. Mawson held approximately 50%. And having the ownership of Sunday Creek in two separate companies, actually not only the dual listing aspect of this, but having the split ownership led to a number of institutions not interested in buying the stock. So I had to sit there for 5 minutes every meeting and explain that, and then why Mawson wasn't a threat, because there's a lot of commonality of ownership, etc. But nobody wants half an asset owned here and half an asset owned there. So we're consolidating ownership, number one. So we'll make it a much more investable product, especially from an institutional point of view. That will mean that there's more people who can buy it. And if there's more buyers and sellers, we know what happens. So that's number one. Then that single ownership will be dual listed in both Australia and Canada. And that's what you alluded to, the Canadians and North American. The North American market or Canadian market is 5 times the pool of capital than we have here in Australia. So there's a lot more dollars there. They know and love Victoria, and they know and love high-grade gold. And we've got some of the best investors in North America already, from some of the largest institutions to the most famous value investor in gold in the last 50 years. Pierre Lassonde is a major investor and supports us at every point because he knows and sees the rare opportunity that we're creating. Not absent of staying listed here in Australia and being Australian and being Australian ownership, being Australian listed, being Australian management, Australian board will stay in place. So it's going to be Australian run, but with a more global focus. We'll go from 16% today, institutional and high net worth ownership, to over 50%. When we merge with Mawson, because Mawson's got some of the best institutions in the world, some that we have in Southern Cross, but also others that we don't own, that don't own Southern Cross directly. They will, and they're supportive. So simplification, consolidation, and dual listing is what we're achieving here. And all things being equal, it should make a much more investable product under one banner. So that's the reason for doing it. Excuse me. And we think it's a bit of a no-brainer, and shareholders will absolutely get the opportunity to vote. And pretty much 99.99% of shareholders that I've spoken to see that opportunity, that it's a no-brainer. And those that just have the questions are mainly around share capital, right? And their people's concern is that you're going to issue more stock. No more stock's going to be issued. It's going to be the same capital structure. Not one more share will be issued. It's just the ownership that is here is being brought together. That's all, not another share.
One of the key things that you said there, and I appreciate the capital structure, there won't be more shares issued now. But the key statistic that you just said there, Mawson, which you've worked with and you're, I believe, the chairman of, you've got 50% institutional ownership. If you go to Southern Cross, you've got 16%. The difference in that is just so telling, that when you move the stock over to the Canadian Stock Exchange, there's a massive amount of pool there that can come across just with that statistical data. It's a no-brainer doing what you're doing. It's fantastic. Mike, I think that the drilling speaks for itself. We've just discussed the corporate strategy, which sounds very sound. The recent weakness in share price, I don't think it's a reflection on any drilling results. I think this is a very good opportunity at these levels.
Well, I think that it always is, because we're onto a very rare asset that's going to, if it continues, is going to be worth a lot more, of course, because the results have been staggering, and as we continue to de-risk the project, if it continues to deliver the gold that it has, and so far there's no slowing down, and share prices go up and down. We've had an amazing run. This has been one of the best performing stocks on the Australian market in the last 2 years, and the last month has just seen us move down with the rest of the market, actually in context with it. So it's not a personal thing, but I think people are shocked that Southern Cross didn't keep its trajectory, and it's just done that. So it's all good. We're here to find gold and create the asset, and that's our job, and the market will follow.
I think the pullback is healthy. It's given people an opportunity to get back into the stock. But also, I want to leave on this note. You've done 115 odd drill holes. How many have hit more than 100 grams? How many have hit more than 50? And how many have been misses? Let's just look at that data, if you've got it offhand. How many times have you not hit gold? In terms of percentages, I think this will shock some people.
Yeah, so I think it's 4,200 gram meter hits. So that you can get more than in one drill hole, like we did in the last drill hole we released. But there's 42 of those. I think there's 47 plus 50 gram meter hits. So if you look at on average the 100 gram hits, 3 in any one coherent body was enough for Newmont to say in the day when I was working with them. 3 in one coherent body is a bona fide discovery. We've got 42 now, and we're getting one every, on average, 1,500 meters. But if you look at the last year, we're getting an on average every kilometer. So 1,000 meters of drilling. So that hit rate is absolutely staggering, right? You don't see that globally, and it's reflective of the project getting better. We drilled about 55 kilometers. We're going to put 60 kilometers in with up to 6 rigs coming to site by September. We got 4 today, 5 by the end of this month. We're in June, and then 6 around September, October. 60 kilometers of drilling will more than double the amount of drilling in this project that it's ever seen, and we're on an upward curve, and it's just increasing. So more drilling, more discovery, making this bigger. The value for shareholders will come from us demonstrating this is going from 1 to 1.5 million ounces, which was our exploration target. Our aim is to get to 3 around that 10 gram mark. That's our aim. And if we can do that, then we got a very, very, very rare asset that will be worth eventually billions of dollars if we can continue to de-risk it at every technical and permitting and social level. It's a very rare asset.
I think the wonderful thing is, as you see the asset growing, you're applying more capital to the drilling. Like 4 rigs, we're getting announcements every 2 weeks. You go to 5, which is virtually end of next week. Then you go to 6 in 2 months. That the news flow will continue to increase, not decrease. And we all know ASX companies love news flow. Investors love seeing news, and particularly moving to the Canadian Stock Exchange. I know they're the same. So you're certainly going to have announcements coming out. And let's just hope the consistency, the potential for these announcements to be as good as what we've had. And if you look at the probability of how many good hits we've had, as you just said, with that drilling, there's not many companies that can stack up with that statistical data. So, Mike, I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you for letting us be part of it. You and your team are doing a tremendous job, and you do have a very good team. So thank you very much for your time, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for your support. Onwards and upwards.